Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello, I'm Matt Hansen.
And I'm Lee Hutchison.
And welcome to the Senate floor.
Let the filibustering begin.
Welcome to Nerd Party.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this next edition of the Filibuster on the Senate floor. I'm back after a week of being absent. You and Tristan took up the mantle here at the Filibuster, Lee, and it sounded like you guys had a good time. But
Yeah.
I'm happy to be back this week.
Yeah, we've missed you, and even this week there was no Senate floor, so I didn't get my Matt Hansen fix. So I've been getting the cold turkey. I've been like twitching away in my room, just shivering underneath my bed, you know. So now I'm getting my fix, and all our listeners are getting their Matt Hansen fix in their ears. So everyone's happy.
It's been difficult. I mean, like, because now school's on, and I have like time is money at this point, and I just have almost no time to myself anymore. But time
is the fire in which we burn, Matt.
Yes, it is. And speaking of which, I am making the time today because a couple of days back it was the 29th anniversary of the premiere of Star Trek: The Next Generation, a show that you and I hold very dear to our hearts, and we thought to celebrate and just kind of kick back and relax. We were gonna watch and do a commentary on the very first episode of TNG that premiered 29 years ago, that being Encounter at Farpoint.
Sounds like a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon. We've had some pretty deep and heavy episodes on the Senate floor recently, from representation to mental health. I really think we need to get in touch with our 1980s scants and everything else that was so great about it, and just relax.
Yeah, I agree. So if you're gonna watch along with us, we are queued up at 000 on Netflix. At least I am. Lee's watching it however he's gonna watch it.
HD Blu-ray. I'm a super fan like that.
Well, actually, I want to say that now the Netflix copies are the HD copies.
That's correct. Yeah,
So,
it's definitely. But all that hundreds of pounds I spent on the Blu-rays, and yeah, great stuff.
I spent them too. I just like my computer doesn't have a Blu-ray player, so oh well. But I'll settle for Netflix. So we're queued up at 000, and we'll count down. We'll go 3, 2, 1, play, and then we'll hit play, and then we'll go from there. Sound good, Lee?
Sounds good to me. Make it so, Matt.
All right, we're gonna start in 3, 2, 1, play.
I always hated the opening credits where it was just the solar system. That I always I came into kind of the Next Generation a good few seasons in. I was born the same year as the Next Generation premiered in '87, and I always associated like these credits, the uniform without the collars, Riker without a beard, as like the not great era of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And whenever I saw these credits, I was like, oh no, it's not going to be a great episode.
It's hard for me to say what I thought because I'll take you back into my backstory a little bit. Encounter at Farpoint was the first Star Trek thing that I saw post my first exposure, which was Generations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because so obviously Generations came out, Next Generation had just ended, and I saw the movie and was blown away and wanted to watch more Star Trek, and it was just about the time where the local TV affiliate station where I was living at the time, which happened to be Panama, by the way, started playing the reruns of Next Generation, and they started from the beginning. So I saw Encounter at Farpoint first.
That must have been such a surreal experience to go from what was like the end of Star Trek Next Generation at the time to then go all the way back like 7.5 years to this.
It wasn't that disconcerting, mainly because I didn't have any concept of like the Star Trek timeline or anything like that. I just was seeing the characters that I just saw on screen again, so that was the fun part for me.
And as 90s kids, it's all a jumble anyway, that you see everything out of sync and out of loop. That I was seeing like two-parters, the second episode without ever seeing the first part, or first season then skip into season 7. It was just all over the place when I was a kid. Like, you didn't have the thing like Netflix, you could just dive in and watch it chronologically.
So I had no concept of this was the bad stuff. I mean, because I was 5 or 6 when I was watching this, and you don't really understand the concept between good TV and bad TV back then.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see more Star Trek.
I was the same. Like, I kind of got into Star Trek about the 4th season. Like, I was obviously born in 87, so I was kind of a product of the Next Generation. Like, we didn't get Next Generation in the UK till 1990, so 3 years between it starting in America. That's how long it took to come to the UK. So, yeah, I was kind of all over the place in terms of what I saw. Like, I grew up in the kind of what I was seeing when I was old enough was like the peak of the Next Generation, like seasons 4, 5, 6, those kind of episodes. And then when you were kind of dipping into the past as a kid, like, I appreciate them all a lot more now, season 1 and 2. I don't think they're as bad as people claim, but at the time it was like, oh, this is kind of, everyone's a bit crabby, like there's no beards, like it was all that kind of still trying to find its feet. I think when you've kind of experienced the peak, going back's like a bit odd.
I think I was just impressed by the sets. They do a good job of, in this first shot, of showing off all the new sets.
But they just seem so sparse, especially like the bridge just now. Like, you look at it and go, where is everyone? It just seems like for a Galaxy class starship, it just seems so unbusy.
Well, I mean, looking back on it now, I like the Enterprise D bridge, but it does look like someone's living room.
Yeah, it's always that thing, like the hotel lobby. And I know the idea that they were trying to work within the beginning of season 1, that the Enterprise was almost this ship that could be kind of manned with half a crew, that the ship was so advanced they didn't really need a chief engineer, those kind of ideas that they had at the time. And you can kind of see some of that presented in like the pilot, the sparse crew, there's no chief engineer. It was kind of a bit odd.
I like going back to this episode kind of because everybody kind of has a grasp on their character, but no one knows really what they're doing. I mean, like, right here, Brent Spiner's extra robotic, which actually, you know, in retrospect makes sense for the character because this is his starting point. But
to sneak, to spy, it's just that he almost comes across that you forget. I think he was like maybe like 25 years old, but kind of from activation point by this point, and that he's worked and lived on Earth, studied on Earth, been among humans, and it's like, huh.
This is also back when Troy was really weepy and inconsolable.
Yeah, and that accent was all over the place.
Well, it wasn't really all over the place. It was just thick. I mean, she's like full Israeli in this.
And it's just like you forget how quickly the action really kicks off in this episode, that we go from them just kicking about in the ship to, okay, the action's begun, we've got this big weird shield on the go. It's not that kind of typical pilot of the 80s where it's kind of slow and builds up. Like, you really do get thrown into the action, inverted commas.
It's kind of weird though, because it's not a pilot that slowly builds up. The action does happen right away, but the action happens and then the episode slows down, which is very weird.
And I like how we don't all just meet all the characters right at the beginning. It is spread out over the course of the pilot, and I like how they do that again in Deep Space Nine. I know Pillar was a fan of this concept in TNG and transferred that to the Deep Space Nine pilot, so there's certainly some historical importance in what the pilot happens here.
That kind of happens in all the subsequent pilots, because you don't meet the full Voyager cast until they're lost in the Delta Quadrant, and even in Enterprise you meet the crew as they're assembling.
I always think in my head that with this Torres guy at the con, I always have it retcon in my head now.
This is B'Elanna's father?
Yeah, even though I know
he's never in Starfleet.
I just retcon it. Somehow in my head I think, yeah, he's going to be in Starfleet. That's his dad. Now, that's her dad.
For whatever, I will say, for whatever weaknesses that this episode has, and there are a lot of them, one of the best things that this episode has, and I think they get pretty good right off the bat, is Q. Definitely.
The costume department are certainly putting their money's worth into his costumes as well. It's so trippy looking back on this, that you've just got this godlike creature that's just come onto the bridge dressed like a knight and then an army officer, and it's all very flamboyant and kind of camp in a way that John Delancey plays this so straight, even with his Blackadder haircut.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is the one episode where Q's not supposed to be funny, like, at all.
Yeah. It's just so badass. I know, and then just like the frozen thing, it's definitely such an odd pilot compared to what we're used to, and you know the dramatic zooms in as well. There's so many little relics of the 80s in this scenes already.
I will say, though, one of the things that I do like about early TNG versus later TNG is I feel like the music that they used had more personality.
Yeah. It's quite dramatic as well. Like, it's not subtle. It's really quite in your face. Whereas I know Rick Berman, when he kind of really took control of the TNG, he wanted to kind of enforce it a lot more, that this show is going to be, the music's just kind of there. It's just ambient noise, as opposed to here where it is dramatic. It is telling you the tone of the scenes.
Which I don't like. I mean, like, because to me, like, the later TNG and then the rest of the episodes, it all became like elevator music. It was just in the background. There was no personality to it. Here, I feel it's vibrant and full. And
yeah, it's definitely that. It's something that it's always frustrated me, that the Next Generation scores just aren't as memorable. There's certainly standout ones where they really can stamp their influence, like, say, the Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah, but you notice that happens all pre-season 4. Anything season 4 and before is this kind of stuff, and it's all the memorable stuff.
I know, that's obviously Rick Berman's influence when obviously Gene Roddenberry came on well, and it's just a shame, as I say, these guys doing the scores, the Ron Jones and Dennis McCarthy, they all can do fantastic work and have done fantastic work. It's just a shame a lot of what was done for TNG is kind of unremarkable. And I just love Picard's bafflement at what is going on. Just this, like, Mr. Ben style figure just changing costumes every 5 minutes, and, like, what is going on here? So, like, obviously now this is like our early introduction, that here we go, Mr. Worf's on the bridge, like, I've always wondered
which must have been different, because at this point the Klingons are like the major bad guys in the movies that are going on at this time. I mean, three had just come out 3 years prior to this.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got 4 where we've got Klingons are still being kind of frustrations with the Federation, that we really hadn't got to the undiscovered country point where we discover that they're all friends, they're a big happy family in a way. But I think I love the touch of Worf on the bridge, that you forget how little he got to do at points in the early episodes.
Well, in the first season, he's kind of like a set decoration. I hate to be rude like that, but I mean, the best thing that could have happened for his character is Denise Crosby wanting to leave the show.
Yeah, that's always one of the great what ifs of Star Trek. Like, what happens if she stayed? And I'm sure she thinks that every single day. I wish I'd stayed. What happens if I stayed? That I really do think you can't imagine Star Trek without Worf becoming the prominent character he became in TNG and then onto
DS9.
Deep Space Nine. Like, what do you think of, like, the Tasha Yar character? This was obviously our first introduction, really.
I think there's a point in this episode where she completely overdoes it, but I mean, I never had a problem with her that most people had, and I cut her a lot of slack because people like to complain about the character, but if you think about it, she never got a chance to grow like the rest of the people did, because she never got the benefit of that post-third season writing. Of course the character's going to look bad in retrospect if the only writing she ever has is first season.
100% agree with you there, that she does. Like, you look at the season 1 and Patrick Stewart, this, like, Shakespearean actor, is just as naff as anyone, and Denise Crosby, she this is all we'd really have to go on her, apart from, say, really Yesterday's Enterprise as a Yar role.
And even that, like, I think that's proof right there that had she stayed and gotten the benefit of the third season writing, that it would have been fine. She would have been fine.
Absolutely. You just wonder, I suppose, there's a reality out there where Tasha Yar still like is on the Enterprise crew and makes it all the way to Nemesis.
It still makes me laugh, though, that, I mean, I kind of see the logic in it, but you just see, the character ended up far from this concept, but you did know that the original concept for the character that eventually became Yar was they wanted to base it off of Vasquez from Aliens.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously this little engineer in the background, he's just like that extra now for about 3 or 4 years, isn't he? And I like how, like, they just use this as, like, any excuse, like, early doors, we're going to have an emergency saucer sep. Like, it's rarely ever used again, and in this, like, episode, it just seems like, oh, that seems like, yeah, we'll go do that. It's just like having a toy and playing with it for the sake of it. Like, are we going to do this now? Is this what we're going to use it for? Yeah, let's go use it. They can't help themselves. Like, we need to sew the saucer sep. And you could imagine them, like, encountering, like, a Ferengi ship and going, saucer set, let's use the new toy, we've got it, let's go. Yeah,
but they only use it, like, twice more in the series, and then obviously when it crashes.
Exactly, and it's crazy to think that this footage in 1987 of like the saucer set, obviously coming up, would actually be used in Generations. That
part of it would be. I mean,
yeah,
the first shot of it disconnecting from the neck, but obviously they shot some new footage of Generations because they show it from behind and the battle damage on the bottom part.
Yeah. The special effects are brilliant. The ILM obviously did Star Wars and everything else in between. Really got to represent Star Trek so well. Like people can say things about the Enterprise D. Oh, it's ugly. It's this. It's that. But some of the shots that the ILM did with the Enterprise and the pilot and would be used over the 7 years are stunning and so memorable.
I've never heard any Star Trek fans say that the Enterprise D was ugly.
I've heard a few. Like it seems to be more in the past few years that just this, and I think it was a lot of the kind of like the technical people, the people that were shooting the Enterprise D, that there was very few angles they could really shoot it from that would make it kind of look good. Like we're so used to it in the Enterprise Next Generation of it coming into shot or kind of warping off, but there's very few kind of angles that we really do ever see of the Enterprise D that's got that variety.
I've always found the ship design fascinating. Now, the one criticism I have for it is the criticism that ends up becoming its weakness in Deep Space Nine, which is that it's a big, powerful ship. It looks good, but it doesn't look very maneuverable. So
no, it's like a kind of clunky ship.
It's top heavy, and ultimately, I mean, I'm glad they went somewhere with that because I think that's what allows it to be defeated by someone like the Dominion. If you swarm it, then there's no way for it to fight back.
I like this. Like, this Worf, like he's already thinking, for me to seek escape while my captain goes into battle, and so begins 7 years of Worf being put down anytime he makes a suggestion. No, Mr. Worf. Who knew that a meme was beginning on day one?
I know. Let's go to the turbolift that we hardly ever use.
Yeah, and I always love these things about like just these officers are just standing by, they just creep, like just come out of the turbolift as, oh yeah, we knew this was happening. Like one of these officers, like the door opens, a guy comes out, and then 2 seconds later another guy just appears from probably the same door. But I always wish they used a bit more of the battle bridge. And
there's the scant on a man.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame they didn't go further with that and keep using it.
They should have put Riker in one.
Oh yeah, I suppose we get close. Like the dress uniform literally is a dress.
Scant. Yeah.
And like the costume design of all the civilians on the Enterprise is just so 1980s, isn't it? And here's Colm Meaney, never to be seen from again in Star Trek. And the same with the Vulcans. Like we don't really see much Vulcan representation on TNG.
No, and that was deliberate from Roddenberry. He specifically didn't want to call back to much of anything in TOS.
You always wonder just like how lucky Colm Meaney was to land this role. Just like it's like one of those many happy coincidences, and it just blows your mind that if it was someone else, who knows where like would this guy have ever been seen again or.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I mean, can you imagine? Like, you probably go into this role, Colm Meaney, thinking that you're just going to do like a couple of days of shooting on the new Star Trek series, and that there he is for the next 12 years.
Oh, absolutely. He's one of my favorite Star Trek actors and characters, and it always brings a smile to my face that his role was quite prominent in those early doors.
Now, I will say, for the crap that we gave it, the separation sequence still looks good.
Oh yeah, I genuinely have no complaints about it. I wish we'd seen more of it. I always thought it'd be quite cool if, like in the Dominion War, because we obviously saw quite a lot of Galaxy class ships.
If you saw a lot
saucers flying around, some lower halves kicking around, it would have been.
If they just discharged all their saucers and it's a bunch of Star Drive sections flying into battle.
I always think the score here is brilliant as well. It's fantastic, and I like the tension as well of like this is a kind of untested crew in a way, and they're doing this emergency saucer sep, and you can feel a bit of tension and see it on their faces of this like exciting thing. Separation is successful. Patrick sure has the same face I have when it's like watching the football scores coming in, and I'm waiting to see if my team's won. Just like I'm stressed. I'm just touching my face. I'm just trying to reassure myself. He's trying to look commanding, but we know there's a bit of nerves there. But it does look so good, and I wish we had seen some more of it over the years.
Now, obviously, the battle bridge, is a redress of the refit bridge from Star Trek 2.
Absolutely. There's probably like William Shatner or something's hidden in behind the walls.
No, William Shatner wouldn't be caught dead on Next Generation.
And then when he does, he quite literally does.
He's caught dead.
I think like the battle bridge is quite cool and stuff. I just think it's just one of these little mysteries that you just wish you could have seen some more of it. It was just this cool set.
I gotta say, I like the battle bridge, but I really like the redesign of it when we see it in Best of Both Worlds. It's a little bit bigger. It's a little bit more technically advanced. Yeah.
I just don't kind of understand the tactics of this whole decision. Yeah, I get that they kind of sending off the civilians away from danger, but like with the kind of the torpedoes and like this ship that like this ball of energy that was right up their tail seems to be taking forever to kind of catch up with them, and it's just kind of I don't really
the ball of energy knows that they need to deliver some important dialogue before it catches them.
They know it's the pilot. They need Call Meany to make his entrance.
Now here begins a bunch of French jokes.
I know. There'll be freedom fries in the Enterprise canteen that night.
Ha ha ha! Of course, the French guy surrenders.
Of course, you can imagine that nowadays if this was released these days.
Oh, I've heard it. I've heard it on other podcasts when they talk about this episode. Yes. Yeah.
Sacre bleu.
Now here's the thing.
No, there we are. Troy's already crying.
Now,
episode 1, Troy's in tears.
Oh, she's about to be in full tear mode coming up, but we're going to get to the trial. But here's the question I want to ask you is if they reboot Next Generation and they recast Picard, do we go with an actual French guy or do we go with an English guy who says he's French again?
Well, we'll probably go with some sort of Algerian guy. I who knows? It's always made me laugh because no one considers Captain Picard French.
I know.
When anyone goes, oh, Captain Picard, oh yeah, the British captain. Like, but no one thinks of him.
But you know how like when comic book movies are rebooted these days, the purpose of the reboot is like we're going to be more true to the comic.
Yeah.
So it's like, is the reboot of Next Generation going to be more true to the character, or are we going to still stick with the English?
It'll be a really thick French accent. We surrender. And then Neelix cameos. I want my French frog legs. I mean, like, this is what I find, like, for all the flaws of this episode does have, and it does have a lot of flaws, like, I can't fault it for its, like, kind of ambitious ideas that, for a pilot, that they're doing this historical court case, and it really isn't, like, your average everyday pilot, and Deep Space Nine does the same with the kind of the Prophets, and we see it with Voyager when they go to the farm. Like, it's all pretty, it's quite left field, it's quite bold.
Yeah.
Like, you can imagine nowadays they would play it a lot more safe. I guess we'll find out in Star Trek Discovery. But this is really, ambitious ideas.
Well, it's Roddenberry writing this, so his ideas by this point are very, very heady and super philosophical. I mean, he does at this point, for better or for worse, and it turned out mostly for worse, he didn't want to be the action guy in Star Trek anymore. He wanted Star Trek to be this intellectual property because that's what he was told over the years by fans at conventions, is that how smart the show was, and I think he started to believe his own hype.
Yeah, and you think that he's not really had, like, his influence on the Star Trek movies after the motion picture was basically like a token credit.
Yeah,
that he's almost had to
for the best.
Yeah, he's almost had to sit on this for years and years, like, you're gonna get make a new Star Trek, and you can imagine being in his position where you must have like hundreds of ideas, hundreds of concepts that you just want to throw at the screen, that now you're the king of the party again.
Now, this costume has the potential to look ridiculous, but somehow, I don't know why, but on Delancey it works.
Yeah, I think like he just kind of totally sells it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's another costume that's you see at every convention from London to Vegas. It's everyone loves the.
Yar's about to do some fake TV karate.
Oh yeah. Another 80s trope, the karate. And the mustache. We'll give the mustache an 80s tick as well. And I love like the gang of like criminals or the judges or whatever they are that are kicking around Q. They all seem like extras out of a David Lynch movie. Or
Mad Max.
Yeah. I like the idea that they're drugged up, the soldiers as well. It almost makes me think of like a precursor to the Dominion, that we were never that far away from what the Dominion were at points. The prisoners will not be harmed. Wonder if we'll hear that.
Like I said, they changed Q's character obviously later on, but there's something so captivating about John Delancey.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite like guest characters of Next Generation.
I mean, like Patrick Stewart. I mean, he had done stage acting and serious Shakespearean work before, and that comes across.
Mm-hmm. And I think that transmits itself because Shakespeare is so funny as well, and Stewart and Delancey are so good at doing that, delivering that stuff as well.
But Shakespeare is so larger than life, and that's the quality that I think comes across in both Stewart and Delancey.
Yeah, like it's quite interesting when you read like about some of the kind of the original pitches for Star Trek and the Next Generation, that like this was also going to be a 1 hour episode, then they decided to make it into a 2 hour episode, and like you always think this is like the main driving force of the episode is the Q stuff, whereas that stuff wasn't really in that kind of original draft.
Well, here's the part where I find Denise Crosby overdoes it.
Oh yeah. The rape gangs and everything is like, yep, this is definitely 1980s. I know, like I do feel sorry for her in a way that she never got to quit herself the way the rest of the cast got to.
Well, I'm sure I know for sure what's coming up too is part of the reason why Marina Sirtis doesn't like to watch this episode.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at this performance. Already weepy.
I know, like yeah, I get the idea and the concept of she's so emotional, empathic that
she's too empathic in this episode.
Yeah, everything's positive and everything's negative, and you really do feel that. But it's just I don't blame Marina Sirtis as such. It's kind of probably poor direction.
It's not her fault. Yeah. It's the way that the character is written, because you can imagine she was written this way.
Yeah. I love Q just yawning there. That's one of my favorite little bits in Farpoint. It's just the contempt, like. You can imagine that it probably sums up a lot of people that aren't Star Trek fans.
Right,
can you imagine that? Just like, here we go, just rolling their eyes. Oh, here we go. The Star Trek characters getting all sanctimonious and preachy.
Well, what you were saying earlier is something I wanted to comment on. If people haven't watched this, I'm going to give a recommendation in the middle of our commentary on Netflix. There is a documentary made by William Shatner called Chaos on the Bridge.
Yes,
and it details the making of the first few seasons of The Next Generation and the drama, the behind-the-scenes drama that went on behind the camera, and it was fascinating. Like, if you haven't watched it, this is actually a Shatner documentary worth watching. Have you seen it, Lee?
Yeah, I have seen it. I couldn't wait for it when it first came out. Like, especially the Blu-rays have just incredible behind-the-scenes special features. But that it's so insightful. The fact that they got Maurice Hurley, who's like, it's so hard to get him. He's like the rarest Star Trek writer to interview and discuss. That someone that was really at the furnace of those early seasons.
It was right before he died too. They were lucky.
Yeah, totally. Maurice Hurley takes apparently a lot of the blame for Gates McFadden leaving the show, for a lot of the writing issues. He was rewriting a lot of the scripts. That he did some really good episodes, the Borg episode, for example.
Yeah.
But like some of them were pretty poor. But when you read about things with the lawyers behind the scenes, Gene Roddenberry, early doors, he was already being phased off the Next Generation through kind of health issues. He couldn't exert the influence he was perhaps hoping to, and he was trying to do that through his lawyers, that they were kind of vetting some of the scripts. And like those first few seasons until Pillar, Moore, Braga come on board,
it sounded like it was hell.
Yeah, it's a wonder they've got anything done.
But I mean, what I like about the documentary is that because it's not an official feature on like a Blu-ray or something like that, all of the actors and all of the people behind the scenes that are interviewed are incredibly candid, and I find that refreshing.
Yeah. That's what's so good about the Blu-rays as well. That you can get them on DVD. You can get them on Blu-ray, or you can get them on Netflix, for example. DVD really cheap, or $5.99 a month. But like the Blu-rays, the documentaries are these like hour and a bit like retrospectives, and they're so brutally honest for like an official product, looking back what worked, what didn't work. I always think of Patrick Stewart talking about how serious he was in those first few seasons, and the crew, as we know, the Next Generation crew are one of the closest, and they always seem to like goof around, and he like got them all together when they went, we're not here to have fun, we're here to be professional actors. And Patrick Stewart himself simmered over the years too.
He admits, though, that half of that was out of fear, and why wouldn't he carry the most fear? He has to carry this show as the captain.
Yeah, and especially coming off of William Shatner.
Yeah.
180-degree turn from the action hero, the comedian that it was William Shatner, to the British Shakespearean actor. It's a hell of a change.
What I find funny about this part of the episode is, like, having just watched First Contact in the theater, the idea of Data being having a gun pointed at him, being threatened.
Yeah, it's always always makes me chuckle in the Arsenal of Freedom later in season 1, where like there's a small, like, it's like one story up where he's jumping down. Data, you're not indestructible. That's a good point, Doctor. And then it's like First Contact. Woo, boom, no issues. Greetings. Yeah, Data was always one of my favorite characters early doors in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Data and Riker.
As someone who was, like I said, I was 5 when I first watched this. My first exposure to Data being crazy Data in Generations. I mean, it might be over the top for people who watch it now, but to a 5-year-old, it was hilarious.
You could imagine if you got into, like, if you were a bit older and watched Generations for the first time, then went to watch Encounter at Farpoint, you're like, where's this joke about the Ferengi? Where is this? Like, I'm expecting like a callback to it, and you're watching the first episode going, nope, there's no joke at Farpoint there.
Ferengi. He was just always funny. I mean, like he carried even some of the episodes in the early seasons that people consider poor, because I just thought he was so funny in them. Yeah. Like I know now, objectively speaking, something like Outrageous Okana is not a good episode, but to a 6-year-old Data practicing stand-up and speaking like Groucho Marx, that was priceless stuff. And then, of course, my favorite of these early seasons was when because I was learning how to play casino games on Super Nintendo back then, and watching Data play craps.
No wonder you go to Vegas every year, Matt.
No, but watching Data play craps in the Royale was hilarious.
I always think, like, I've got a casino like next to the cinema down the street, and like me and my friends used to go play poker, and I always wanted to turn it with like a Data visor. But no, like, Data and Riker were just like, I loved them in those first few seasons. They really were the MVPs of the first few seasons. That they were just so funny, and like they had like charm and character, whereas the other people were still kind of rough around the edges. The female characters were kind of poorly written. Picard was a bit crabby. Like you weren't thinking, I really like this Picard character at the time.
There was some, I will say, I'll stick my neck out slightly for Picard to say that even though he was crabby, there was I was never bored by him, or I was
definitely not
like put off by him, because I felt that he was the right person to have a commanding presence. He just needed a little bit of smoothing out, but he was in pretty good form even here at the beginning.
Yeah, like, I think he's a really good captain, but he's one of those people, it just takes it's a long time to warm up to him. I think. Especially when you're kind of used to the more charming and kind of refined Picard, to go back to those early few seasons,
or even like when you're watching this. I mean, I can imagine he seems like a real stick in the mud compared to Kirk.
Yeah. I know, like, it's crazy to think that it is that such a drastic change, and really the first officer is playing the Kirk role. It takes a lot. I can't imagine what it must have been like to be in the 80s, to go from the original series as a fan to then the TNG. It must have been jarring. I don't know how comfortable fans would have been with the kind of role reversals, the big changes, how open they were.
Speaking of the first officer,
yeah, there they are. Baby face, smooth as an android's bottom.
He looks so young. Yeah. I hate saying that because it implies that he looks so old now, but like there's something about him without the beard that makes him look like he's 28.
Mm-hmm. Like I don't think anyone ever is used to like the beardless Riker. Like, I love the bearded Riker, and that, like, I always wish I could grow a beard properly. Like, I would like to pretend I'd be Will Riker. But it's just like I think it's quite funny when you look at this like pilot, and like it's like plot points are actually like a bowl of fruit appearing, and it's like, where did that bowl of fruit come from?
Right.
And it's like, dun dun dun. Tune in after the ad break to find out where the fruit came from. Oh yes, these apples were here all along. Dun dun. I wonder if Star Trek Discovery will have an apple plot point in its pilot.
Well, I just like how, I do imagine the Star Trek Discovery pilot will follow the template of the last 4 pilots that there were, because I mean, the one common thread in TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise is they all are thrown into a situation that none of them are prepared for, and they're dealing with a species that has some kind of higher power than they do. So I imagine that's what the Discovery pilot might be.
I guess we'll find out in May. I think it's going to be really interesting when, like, to have this, like, obviously it'll be kind of near enough the 30-year point from Next Generation to Star Trek Discovery, and to compare the two will be quite a kind of fascinating comparison point. I think, like, what's changed about Star Trek in all those years.
I keep forgetting Dr. Crusher with her big puffy 80s hair.
Oh yeah, I had such a crush on Gates McFadden as a kid. Now, see there, like, one of the security guard, one of the Enterprise officers in the gold in the background there is actually it was the engineer officer that was on the Enterprise earlier on that was also shuffling the crew along. There, see him in the background talking to the woman in the blue.
Yeah.
Like, he's on the Enterprise and he's also there.
Well, maybe
that explains why he pops up in all these different roles. He's just like a clone.
Maybe he's on the saucer and the saucer's already here.
Yeah, I don't. Did it? I can't remember. I haven't watched this in a wee while. Maybe that is the case. So, what did you think? Here's Wesley Crusher, our first introduction to him as one of his worst jumper of the series.
Yeah, one of his worst jumpers of the series. You know what? Will Wheaton has got a lot of flack over the years, and some of it's not undeserved because, I mean, but I don't think it's necessarily his fault. The character's just written so obnoxiously to begin with. I mean, he's doing what he can, him being a 16-year-old kid as he's making this. I like him a lot more now, following him offline and following his subsequent writing and work. I think he's incredibly candid about how he comes across in these early episodes, and he's redeemed it for me. But I mean, he would have been one of the people that he would have been one of the 2 people that audiences were already familiar with, because he the year before this he had just done Stand By Me.
Stand By Me, yeah,
and that was a huge hit.
Yeah, like, as a kid, like, yeah, I can imagine maybe being a bit older, Wesley can be a bit annoying, but like when I grew up with Wesley, like, even though as like a kid I didn't want to be a same kid like Wesley, I wanted to be like Riker or Data. Like, I never had an issue with Wesley, and I always think that the whole meme that he always saves the day or he's this or that is really overstated. It happens. He is annoying at points, yeah, of course, but I don't really blame Wesley or Will Wheaton or anyone like that. Yeah, he's promoted above his station too many times, and yeah, I can imagine that's a bit annoying because we all wish that was us, but I've no issue with him, and I love Will.
But the reason I don't blame him really is because that's a writing decision. If you're going to get mad at anyone, get mad at the writer, because, I mean, Will Wheaton can only do what he's told.
Yeah. And, exactly. Like, and it's the same with a lot of the characters that, yeah, he was only really around for the first, the midway through 4th season he left,
and he does he does get a chance to get better. I do feel like he has some genuinely good moments, and even, I feel even like some of his best moments are when he comes back after he leaves, because I think my favorite Wesley Saves the Day episode is The Game. And
he saves the crew from Pokemon Go.
I know, but like, I think he's really good in that episode, and I think pairing him with Ashley Judd was a good idea. But I really I think his best episode is First Duty.
Yeah, I always think that I always class it as when he gets the red uniform, that I think there's a real step up then. That I think like by that point, I think they kind of streamline him. He's like just a member of the crew. He's doing his job, and he doesn't perhaps stand out as much as this kind of wonder kid. He seems just like one of the team.
Yeah.
I always find this. I always feel so sorry for Riker here. Like Picard just seems like a total ass. Just like he's not even turning around or blanking him. He's just like talking to the back of someone's head, and it just feels like Riker looks annoyed. Picard's just being a bit of an ass. It's like, oh, and welcome aboard.
I like how
I would be like, oh, okay.
I like how we have all this surveillance footage. It's like the scene in Star Trek 3 where they watch the end of Star Trek 2.
Yeah, it always makes me chuckle. Like it's always one of these TV tropes that bugs me, I think.
No, but it just happens to be at the same angles with the same cinematography
course,
as the episode. Oh, I guess not.
Right.
They're not on the saucer because the saucer's not here yet.
Yeah. So there we go.
This is what I like. So even the battle bridge has its own ready room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always wish I had and I there's so much of this in the pilot as well. Just there it is on Patrick Stewart, just like the slow zoom, the dramatic zoom. Like that's something that you rarely ever get again in like Star Trek. That we always kind of know the Star Trek directing style. Movies kind of excluded is quite. It's kind of that one shot, two shot, wide shot. It's not like there's very few zooms. It's very traditional and bland in a few ways. So it takes you out of it if you're into the Star Trek making of style to see this kind of thing.
But here's the thing: is like the battle bridge is supposed to be this Spartan setting where like it's a bare bones command center where they can coordinate attacks or whatever. Like, of what use is there to have another ready room at this point?
Yeah, like I always thought maybe like as a little kind of conference room or something along those lines. But yeah,
look at the size of it. You don't have a conference in there.
I know. It's just a bit kind of, silly, really, isn't it, to put this in there? But it's fine enough with me. Never to be seen from again. They probably just demolished it after this and turned it into a food storage unit for when they're running away. I like the manual docking thing. It's really cool. Like the music as well, where it chimes into the Next Generation theme.
I mean, here's the thing: the manual docking, it's completely not necessary for this episode, except to show off Riker. Mm-hmm. But I still like it.
Yeah.
Data looks like he's wearing lipstick in that scene. It's something about
it probably
the lighting.
is. Have you I love it on like the behind the scenes of season 1 on the Blu-ray where you get to see the makeup and costume tests, so like all the different colors they did with Brent Spiner and LeVar Burton, for example, and like you can imagine they probably did put lipstick on him. That was probably part of it. That he has these really like pink lips, these human lips.
We're just watching him do his thing.
Exactly. And I do like how it ties into the Next Generation theme. Like that's something that rarely ever happens again in the TNG as well, is that use of the theme outside of the opening credits.
So do you think that every time they separate, which is not that often from now, Picard just makes Riker do this every time?
Yeah, it must be like his just little thing. And it doesn't even seem too difficult to do either. Especially that it's all computer.
No, I just like, if we're gonna like make up a trope right now, I say that every time the saucer separates, Picard goes into his ready room and he just makes Riker redock it manually.
Yeah, you can imagine there's like a magnet that kind of connects the two. And it's just like that confidence from Riker. He just looks like he knows what he's doing. He's like, there's not even a sweat dripping.
He does have a Kirk presence.
Yeah. It's that swagger, isn't it? Like the chin's up, you see, and the fact that the camera's looking up to him really does give him that kind of the Kirk role.
He just needs the strip of light across the eyes.
Yeah, and a wee tear in his shirt. But I'm sure there'll be opportunities for that in the course of each and every season. And then like Yar's looking stressed about this docking. Everyone just like seems to be just like, for a show that really kind of for a lot of Star Trek Next Generation was quite kind of emotionless in a way. Like these people were kind of very much in control of their emotions, very much in charge. In the first few episodes in the pilot, everyone's kind of stressed, anxious, emotional, anxiety ridden.
By the way, like, I noticed, like, even though she's definitely there on the battle bridge because we saw her, very convenient that Troy is not there at the bridge at that moment because we have to wait for the reveal to come later of their relationship.
Imzadi. And I like that.
That is so British, by the way. Like, job well done. Let's not make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, pip, yeah. Praise gets where it's due and all that. And the fact that he's having a cup of tea while delivering it as well. A fairly routine maneuver, but yeah, you handle it well. Okay.
I do like this thing about Riker, though, that they reveal in this scene where, like, the reason Picard wants him is because he's not afraid to go against Captain's orders if he thinks that he's doing it in the best interest of the Captain.
Yeah. And it is that change around as well from the original series that the Captain doesn't go down on their way missions. So that kind of plays more into the Riker as Kirk again, that he gets to go on the missions, he gets to kiss the women on the planet.
But I like it, of all the character development that they do in this episode, or that they try to do, I really like this one. It helps me understand who Riker is more right away.
I think this is a fantastic scene, and it diffuses that tension that Riker comes across as quite a likable guy on the planet. Picard, at this stage, he's still kind of seeming that like a bit pompous, stiff, not very, likable. And just by the episode, that at this end of the scene, he comes across that he's kind of testing Riker. He's happy to have him on board, and you see that crack of the smile. Welcome aboard. And there's another zoom. We could have a drinking game of all the zooms into the faces, dramatic zooms.
You can have a drinking game with that. I also think that you can have a drinking game with the first season of Voyager, of how many times it cuts to black with a shot of Janeway looking bewildered into the camera.
There was a drinking game you could have for the Star Trek Voyager season 1 of how many times is there tension with the Maquis and the Federation, and you'd be stone cold sober.
Right. Unfortunately.
And this, obviously, Picard, I'm not a family man, and they've given me a ship with children on board.
Again, like that might make him come across as unlikable, but I for some reason I like that. Yeah, it humanizes him.
And how many that's the thing about the Captain. Because
I'm not comfortable with I'm not comfortable with children either, so I kind of identify with him.
I volunteer at a sick kids hospital, so I'm kind of meant to be good with kids, but I don't know if I could handle a ship full of them. But I like that the smile, the tension's diffused. Welcome aboard. Everyone's happy. And here's Geordi in his visor. Always liked the visor. I always thought it was quite interesting that, early doors, that they talk about how they could actually give him like the implants to change his eyes. And I was frustrated myself as a kid, because I would think, if I was blind, I would want the optical implants. Yeah, of course, instead of the cool shades.
It's so weird to see him in a red uniform.
Yeah. Like, that's another thing that I always associate with old TNG. That's like Geordi's in the red uniform.
Well, that's really old TNG, because by next season he'll be in the gold.
Mm-hmm. And the revolving door of engineers comes to an end. And I like Dr. Crusher. She was one of my big crushes as a kid. I loved Gates McFadden. And I'm going to finally see her at a convention next weekend. So
have you not seen her before?
Nope. She's never been to like kind of a UK one that I've been to. And Will Wheaton's going to be there, the first UK one he's come to in 25 years. So really excited about that one. I'll make sure to tell him to download this podcast.
We need to talk about this, because here's our big guest star this episode.
Yeah, it's such a lovely touch, isn't it?
You know what I have to say? In watching the original series, I like a great deal of the characters, and I think Spock is very fascinating, but I really do think McCoy is my favorite character.
Yeah, he's the heart, isn't he? And I think this was his last TV role, and like the fact that he was one of the first of the Star Trek cast ever to die, a few years after this, it really adds a little kind of touch. I
believe.
Yeah, it really adds a kind of somber touch to this episode.
Can I just say though, like, I like in this episode and the episode of TOS where he ages along with Kirk. Like, every time McCoy gets older, he gets more and more Southern.
I always think of now that when I see him like talking about Vulcans, that I always think of that We Hate Movies podcast where they talk about when he slags on Vulcans as a younger character. It's quite funny, but then when he does it when he's older, it just comes across as he's being a bit racist. Yeah. That you sound like a Vulcan, and you just think that going, kind of comes across as that kind of the racist old uncle.
But aside from that, this is a very, very nice moment, and it makes me miss DeForest Kelly.
I know.
I will say though that, you know, watching his performance and then watching what Carl Urban did in the new films, I'm very, very proud of Carl Urban. He did such a wonderful job.
Yeah. And I just love this. It's just the music here to kind of wrap up the first hour. You treat her like a lady and she'll always take you home. It's like a lovely little line.
Eye.
Yeah. Another 80s sign is the patches as well and the elbows.
Now you know that shot was put in there just to show you how much bigger the Galaxy class is compared to the Excelsior, which was the biggest at that point.
If man, you know, like we always think how big the Excelsior was bigged up in the kind of the search for Spock, then it's just like this. Yeah, it's nothing now. Get out of the way. And it looks so good in the remastered as well.
Just love you really want to blow a hole in the view screen.
Yeah, that's just so Worf. Lieutenant. I know, like I find it's just such a fascinating throwback. Like I've actually find myself like kind of lately, past year or so, when I've got all the DVDs, all the Blu-rays of Star Trek, you know, but that's my fan credentials right there. But the fact that it's on Netflix is so easy, and I'll sit here on the couch and I'll just be like, you know what, I'm really in the mood for, and I'll watch like early TNG. There's something I kind of find quite relaxing and interesting about it. It's maybe the fact that I watched so much of the good era as a kid that I just like to dip into the older episodes, and there's something about them where they're so heightened, they're so over the top that they're really enjoyable to watch.
They're kind of charming in sort of a pseudo Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of way. But you know what? I don't watch them necessarily derisively at all, because like I said, this being my first exposure to Star Trek post Generations, I can't help but have a little bit of nostalgia for these early episodes. I realize I understand. I objectively understand that they're not as good, and that they have fundamental problems with them. I get that. But there's some thing about them that, because this is kind of where I started off, I can't hate them like the rest of the world. Like
I can't hate them as well. Like I think that when I say bad, I don't really necessarily mean that it's terrible. It's just that kind of fan thing that season 1 and 2, that's the pre-collar age and stuff.
If you and I are being totally honest, season 1 and 2 are filled with episodes that are problem ridden.
Oh yeah, but there's some great ones in there as well. Like, but I just think there's something kind of it's just like a time capsule, and there's not really any other Star Trek that's like the first two seasons. Now, of TNG.
Speaking of time capsule, how soap opera is this?
Oh yes, I know. Like, and that was another relationship that really very little kind of happened in the TV series. There was like the odd hint here and there, but like never much was really done with it, was there? Oh, dramatic zoom.
I do like their dynamic, though. They always had good dynamic, even though they didn't really do anything with it in the series. Like, I believed them when they finally did get together.
Yeah, like I was totally on board with it, but it's just something that it's always kind of underplayed, and it's kind of there. It's kind of similar to probably the Janeway Chakotay thing, that I don't really buy that there's a romantic relationship between the two of them, but there's enough kind of that bubbles along that you think, if they ever hooked up one night, I totally buy into that.
Well, this is another redo, because this was like when this was going to be like phase 2, this was going to be Decker and Ilea.
Yeah, and Marina Sirtis is happy to keep her here.
And when you watch motion picture, Decker and Ilea have an incredibly similar backstory to Riker and Troy.
And I just like Patrick Stewart there, just in the middle, unfamiliar with what's going on. I just think that, like I always prefer, like the Next Generation really wasn't focused so much on kind of relationships. They were just kind of things that would kind of happen every so often, like the Riker Troy thing would kind of be flirted with here and there. The Picard and Crusher was a bit more prevalent in the early days. And
I wish they would have done more with that.
Yeah, I always loved the idea that Picard was Wesley's father.
I never liked. I mean, you talk about biological father or like stepfather.
Kind of biological father.
I see. I never bought into that, but what I did buy into, and I shipped very hard, was Picard Crusher.
Oh yeah, I love them too. Like I thought it always frustrated me that kind of nothing ever happened there. But then it's even more frustrating that
it was more frustrating to me, like in something like Insurrection, where they had the chance to do something with Picard Crusher, they instead bring in that woman that acts like a piece of wood. Like I mean, they would have given a chance for Gates McFadden to do something substantial in the movies.
Yeah, like I remember. I don't know if you can recall it, but like when Nemesis was on like a good few months away from coming out, like the script leaked and there was a lot of stuff about Picard and Crusher like dancing together, like Save the Last Dance for Me, all these things, like it really was played on
all the good character moments that Stuart Baird cut out of the script because he thought it wasn't important.
Yeah, and I thought it was a really good kind of climax to that. Like I always believed them two belonged together, and so it was frustrating to see that stuff really on the chopping floor. But the fact we had like 176 episodes, and like they very rarely ever did anything with the Picard Crusher thing, or even kind of make episodes where, well, obviously there's what's it called, Allegiance, Alliance, something like that in season 7.
Attached.
That's the one.
That was a good one. That was my favorite one where they.
But there should have been little things kind of touched upon that over the series, just peppered in here and there. Whereas I think we as fans always knew it was kind of there without there ever actually being anything there, because it was just like we were told.
Now this would have gotten, I will say though that I don't blame her, but this would have gotten old so fast if Marina Sirtis, if Troy had always been this emotional whenever she came into contact with with strong feelings.
It's that stereotype of kind of women that's on the go, like, oh, I'm so emotional, I can't handle this. That you can imagine women hating it as well. Like, is this what you're going with as a female character? That Star Trek, which is associated with strong female characters,
it just doesn't make sense for her character, because if she's grown up Betazoid, she's encountered strong emotions probably all the time. Yeah. And so you're telling me that every time she encounters something strong, she gets weepy? Like, wouldn't you think that if you do that all the time, you'd be used to it and be able to control yourself like an adult?
Yeah.
By the way, did you notice like that Anson totally checks out Riker's ass as he walks away?
Oh, of course. As if you weren't checking it out either, Matt. Yeah, because she pops up here and there as well through the series, doesn't she? Am I imagining that?
That Ensign? No, she doesn't come up again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe I got it wrong. But, like, I love the introduction to the holodeck.
The holodeck.
I remember, like, when I was a kid, like, there was nothing I wanted more than the holodeck.
I remember not understanding it as a kid, because as a 5-year-old, it's hard to grasp different realities. But when I understood what the concept meant, then I started really liking it.
Yeah, until Voyager ruined it.
Well, not ruined it, but overplayed it like they did so many other things.
Like, I think they really kind of nail it in Next Generation, that it's used for recreational, hobby, plays, like so many different things. And it's just kind of something that's there, and very rarely is there an issue with the holodeck.
That being said, though, I mean, I'm glad, for Voyager, I'm glad that they brought in the Doctor. I mean, that's a character that I don't want changed in any way. And
Data, like, one of my favorite things about kind of Nemesis here was the Data whistling away, and that I think it's one of the most human moments in Nemesis, and even all of Star Trek, when Riker is paying a toast to him and he can't remember.
I mean, I still don't like Nemesis because I feel like they chopped out almost all of the character moments, but I liked that they called back to this. That was one of the things it did right.
And it's just that human approach that you can't quite remember what it was, as opposed to in Star Trek we're so used to everyone's the smartest person in the room and everyone's kind of that smugly smart. With that, it's like, I remember that, but what was that song? And like, I love that. Like, there's no need for it to be like that in the script, but they go for it. I love that as the subtitle, Whistling Badly. Data was just, he's so great. As a kid, I preferred him to Spock as well. I think it was more of the fact that he could be a bit more humorous and a bit wacky. Like, as a kid, that was kind of more appealing than that kind of the Spock thing where it's like, oh, he's so serious all the time.
I hadn't been introduced to Spock yet, so that was the weird thing. I wouldn't watch Spock for... I was watching this in '95. I wouldn't watch Spock. I wouldn't watch Spock for another 2 or 3 years until I picked up the old movies.
It's crazy to think what it's like when, like, me and you are like two of the biggest Trekkies around, and we know a lot of Trekkies, and but like it's crazy when you think back on like what our Trek story was, that seeing all these episodes out of order, and somehow we managed to watch them all week to week, and when Voyager and Deep Space Nine's on the go, and then with Next Generation that we found a way to watch like 170 odd episodes all out of order at times, out of sync, kind of watching movies before that. It's something special. It always makes me kind of romanticize my Star Trek past.
Yeah, me too.
Pinocchio,
yeah.
But I think as a pilot, it's just these are the best moments, is the getting to know the
character moments. Yeah.
Like the plot, I don't really care about. I don't care if they.
Well, I care about the plot in so much as when it deals with Q. When Q's on the screen, I'm definitely interested in the plot. But
you can almost see the two clashes with like the original script without the Q stuff, where like the crew are going about their daily business, and like there's next to no reference to this Q threat or the Q trial. It's just something that's kind of one or two of the crew have kind of been dealing with. The rest of it have just been getting on. They're at Farpoint, don't care, not fussed, and I quite like that.
Now here we go with Wesley.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite like images in this episode, is the demonic data face when he picks him up.
Yes.
It's so terrifying.
It's so weird. Brent Spiner, I will say, has such a pliable face.
I
mean, the best demonic data face comes when he's malfunctioning in Generations.
Yeah. The manic laugh. It's just scary. It's just that you look at it like, and he's even got this kind of little pink cheeks and stuff. Like they're still, but you notice that like a lot in this pilot as well. Like the crew's really quite. There's a lot of civilians just kicking about in their kind of awful clothes.
Yeah, very 80s clothes.
And this is where you're still trying to get used to the rules of the holodeck. Like Wesley's wet. How does that make any sense? Like the water's fake, and then there's like snowballs in season 1 that kind of come out of the holodeck, and you'd hate to be someone that's doing like a Civil War reenactment and there's a bullet coming flying out.
Now this is weird. I mean, like the sickbay set looks pretty much identical, except for like there's this huge screen, like black screen in the middle of sickbay.
No idea what that's for. I never really picked up on that. I'm pretty sure I've got that same winter jumper that Wesley's got. Yeah, like I just like it's hard not to look at this like I know people slag off Encounter at Farpoint, and like there are stuff like I can tell you Tristan sent me a message, like he was like, oh, what, you're recording? Like, oh, Encounter at Farpoint, and he just sent back a message saying snooze. But I don't think I wouldn't say it's a kind of snooze one. Like I think if you were a member of the Joe public watching this now, I think it'd be snoozeworthy. But I think, like, as a kind of Trek fan, it's a relic and something quite fascinating to look at and talk about and explore. It depends what you're kind of watching it to get out of it. I don't know if I'd watch this as for entertainment, but if I was looking to kind of dig into the Trek past, I'd love it.
I do think, though, that of the pilots, this is the slowest paced.
Yeah.
And maybe that hurts rewatchability.
Oh, there's another guy in the scant, and then we've also got our extra security officer. He's still kicking about on the planet. But I love that with like LaForge when he just points at something.
Yeah. I like how too, like Troy was like, "Oh, we should split up. Maybe you and I should go." Will, and then Will assigns her to some other team entirely.
Now we're down into the basement of the Farpoint station. Like, I just find it odd that like Starfleet sent them on their first mission to like explore Farpoint. It's like, oh, okay. You can imagine some more exciting missions.
Right.
Go to the Badlands. Okay.
Well, we get that in one of these pilots.
Yeah. I like how like they're all like the species of this planet are all wearing like doilies on their head.
It's like they have. It looks like they have dreadlocks.
Yeah. There's some really bizarre costume choices in this episode.
Well, nothing's more bizarre than Cropler Zorn, which is a character that I find so kooky that I actually ended up loving by the end of this episode.
Yeah, I've never had an issue with Groppler's Zorn. He's just he's just a bit odd. Him and his apples.
Again with the weeping. My God.
Get yourself together, man. Wait until she gets to like Wolf 359 and there's all these dead officers.
Well, then she wouldn't be feeling anything.
Yeah. Well, this is true. You've out-nerded me there. She's like me when I've got to the, I'm on a Wednesday and I'm still stuck at work. Oh, no. Such pain.
I mean, the one thing I do remember most from her out of this episode is coming right at the end with the great joy and gratitude from both of them.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's so quotable, isn't it? I feel for Marina Sirtis. I really do.
I do really like her, though. I mean, I've seen her in conventions.
Yeah.
I think she's hilarious. She's brassy.
I just mean in this episode.
She's so unlike Troy that she ends up being one of my favorite convention guests.
I always liked how by the end of the Star Trek run, she had gone from this like alien almost voice that she had in the first few seasons to being like full on London. Oh, Mr. Wacker. Well, you see the Spurs result at the weekend. Come on, you Spurs.
The way she says it, the way she tells it at conventions is like she started off with this very thick accent, and she says by season 7 she was ready to come over to Ellis Island.
Yeah. I know. I like Marina Sirtis. She's quite a kind of an outlandish character.
I do. I like her real accent, like that really thick Cockney London accent that she has.
She supports the same football team as I do, Tottenham Hotspur. She's got a Spurs tattoo on her back.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I know. I think I've never met her before either, so I think I'm going to see her for the first time next weekend.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I told her I was one of the few. When I first met her, I told her I was one of the few fans that didn't blame her for crashing the Enterprise, and she gave me a high five.
Yeah, like that always pissed me off as well. Like she never crashed the ship. It's never, ever, ever her fault.
No, it's
like
not. It's not. Well,
in Generations, it's the shockwave. It's not her fault.
And the helm's not working. And besides, if the ship was going down, she was sitting right next to Data, who could theoretically take over the whole ship if he wanted to. And if Data wasn't going to save that ship was going down.
Yeah, and then Nemesis, she's just told she's told
under
to ram
orders.
it. Yeah, it's not like she's trying to reverse park or something like that. She's just told, round that ship. I like the little touch here between Riker and between Picard and Crusher, that shared history and past.
I do like it more like there's going to be a scene that I think is cut out of the TV version, but it's obviously here in the full version, where Picard goes down to sickbay and they actually do have a moment of reconnection, and where remember the part where he says like, if you don't want to be on this ship, I won't. I'll transfer you. No hard feelings. And she's like, no, I requested to be here, and I'm going to be professional as long as you can.
Quite right. And it's one of those ones that, like that, for all that we say that there's problems in this episode where it doesn't make the female characters look very strong. Like that's a great strong
that
moment. Like,
good one.
Why the hell would that make any difference to me? Don't imply that I can't do my job.
If anyone has a problem here, it's you, sir.
Yeah. I like how the bridge seems really busy and everyone's just looking at like Wesley is like, oh my god, is that a kid? Oh my god! Like as if they've just like you. I always like one of the things I hate and kind of find funny about Star Trek in general is like so many weird things can be happening on the view screen. Some moments of great shock and peril, like they can arrive back on Earth or whatever like that, and no one bats an eyelid or looks away from their like screen. But here everyone's like, is that a kid on the bridge? Oh my god! Just like when the alarm goes off.
As if he did that.
Yeah, exactly. We have a perimeter alert. Oh, okay. No wonder he hates kids. And you never get that again, like the proximate alarm. That's just another thing, yeah, kind of in this episode, just like beep, 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 beep. I like the style of these ships. Like they look like kind of classic UFOs.
Well, it looks like the Independence Day ships.
Yeah, exactly. They're on their way to Earth to blow up the White House, but just thought they'd pass by a Farpoint station to pick up some of their pals.
I mean, this is your classic flying saucer.
Yeah, and it's a cool idea. It's like something you rarely ever see again in Star Trek. It's certainly a unforgettable ship.
I will say, jumping to the end of this episode, I kind of wish that we had and there's a book about it that I ended up really liking it. But I wish we knew more about these space jellyfish.
Oh yeah, what book was that, Matt?
It was one of the Titan books where Riker's in command of the Titan and they run into the jellyfish again.
I don't really ever read the Star Trek fiction books. I love the non-fiction work. I've just picked up the last 25 years of Star Trek where it talks about the making of TNG.
I need to. There's an audiobook version of that I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
The reason I got into Star Trek fiction is because I had nothing to sustain me in between Enterprise and the first JJ movie, and that was the only new Star Trek that was coming out. So
I like how there's an Asian on the bridge as well. That's a kind of underserved race really on the Enterprise through the entire run, and there's quite a few that pop up here and there in the pilot. There seems to be a real push early doors for that kind of diversity of like crew, of passengers, and families of young all in ages, and then it kind of over a few episodes it really just settles into the kind of routine of kind of North American actors really. And it's like the scale of the ship is so impressive as well, and their big pink light.
It really does look good. Like the alien ship really does look good on the remastered version.
Yes. Especially for people like us, like we grew up with them kind of looking a bit naff, and Farpoint itself looking a bit naff. The jellyfish is blue, and everything's so full of color now. You feel like you've been colorblind all these years.
It had that sheen of like VHS fuzz on it that made it look a little weird, but now it's sharp and crisp, and also the color. Like one of the things I immediately noticed when they started doing this remastered project is like even like their uniforms are much more vibrant colors.
Yeah. They don't look like they've kind of been like kind of got that dusty sheen and stuff like, and I can't imagine, like it blows your mind sometimes like watching like the remastered, and like I've got the Blu-rays and I don't even think I've watched half of the episodes in HD yet. It's like it's kind of that different thing where I've not just sat down and went, right, I'm going to all watch season 1 again, I'm going to watch season 2. Like I've watched them all here and there on kind of Netflix on the Blu-ray, but like I've not made the time really to sit down and watch them all, and that frustrates me a little bit. That's something I'll have to get around to one day.
They use this shot of the city blowing up quite a bit, but I mean it's and you can obviously tell it's the same footage, but there's something a little bit charming about destroying a model city versus like a CGI thing.
Yeah, it's that kind of, it does look really small, but it's a nice touch, and it's a good callback to, you didn't really ever get kind of villages being destroyed in the original series, that kind of planet destruction on that kind of scale, so it's quite good.
Or if you did, it wouldn't be things blowing up, it would be like a bright light shines and everybody gets vaporized.
Yeah.
Because that was just kind of like cheap.
You go from like that scene to just like a village there to whoop, poofed away, kind of like the Batman movie. Don't, if you should be hurt. Everyone's just sitting there letting their relationships get out of order and stuff like that. Are you okay being here? I don't want you to die.
See, this is when I start loving Zorn, is when he's all panicked.
That would be me in the future. I'd be hiding under the table. Borg come, hide under the table. Planet's getting destroyed, hide under the table. The village blowing up always reminds me of Thunderbirds, the original kind of the season.
See, it's when you see the shots come down, it's obviously the same footage again and again, but
yeah.
Like I said, there's just something fun about seeing like something that was obviously built being blown up.
Yeah, it never gets old, does it? It's always a nice change from the kind of the CGI that we're so used to these days. I always like the musical chairs on Star Trek, just like people just like swapping around, moving around, tapping in, tapping out.
Speaking of the chairs, it's disconcerting, and it's because this happens the whole first season.
Yeah,
the front two chairs are so laid downy, like it looks like it's like terrible posture on the back to lay down that much if you're trying to type something.
That's another sign between like peak Next Generation and kind of early days Next Generation is the reclined seats. The bridge has got the brown, what's it called, like power.
Yeah, the things on the side.
Cupboards. Yeah.
I will say though, I mean, I do like the way that the bridge looks after they redesign it for like the rest of the series, but
Yeah.
My favorite look at the Enterprise D bridge has got to be Generations.
Yes.
I like the multi-levels that they put in. I like the fact that they have 2 extra workstations on the side. It looked really good in that movie.
Yeah, I always love the bridges when they're busy. They seem like actual operation commands. Like the Enterprise E, I love the bridge there. I love the bridge in yesterday's Enterprise Generations. I love it. That seems like a proper bridge to me, as opposed to like the regular characters.
I think that was it. I think it was the fact that like they changed it to where it looks like a real functioning command center in Generations.
Yeah,
and they finally
wish we got more of it.
And poor Worf, he finally got a chair, and then the ship crashes.
I know, and he's never to get a chair ever again. And just as we were forgetting about Q, he's back. It just seems like such an odd adventure to like, I'm going to test you on this this mission where, okay, off to the bridge we go.
I always like lines like that where, sir, they're firing on the planet again as you're watching it on the view screen firing. And it's like, really, Worf? What else can you tell?
Mr. Literal. But I suppose it's things like that kind of, you can imagine it's like kind of a bit poor script writing in a way that they're describing what's going on in the episode, which is all fine, but they kind of forget that there's going to be a visual of it as well, like right on in the background.
Now this is a nice touch. I know that you and I are kind of off because of how our footage is coded, but when Data just sits up like a robot, that's a good touch. I like it.
It's cool, isn't it? If you remember that he's a robot, and there's very few of that kind of in the early days. You get stuff like that, and he does that. Was it like season 7 when he's learning to sleep? That you see that's how he kind of wakes up in the morning, just like that kind of robotic up. Oh. You can tell he had like an experience being like a mime artist and using his body.
Well, he's a very
like
physical,
so cool.
like facial actor. Because if you saw his stuff before this, like he turned up on an episode of Cheers, and it was bizarre. And then, have you ever seen his Night Court appearances that he did before this?
No, I think you were raving about them a wee while back. I've never got around
just
to
look up, look up YouTube Night Court Brent Spiner and watch the character that he plays.
I wonder if he was in Murder, She Wrote. I think every member of Star Trek was in
Murder, She Wrote.
I was watching an episode the other day and LeVar Burton pops up. And I think then another day it was like Robert Beltran. I think anytime you tune in, there's always someone. God,
this guy, I think his name is Michael Bell as Grappler's
that's
Lord. He's
right,
just so frigging over the top. It's fun to watch him.
Yeah, and it's like I love that sometimes. You need like sometimes Star Trek and how it could portray like characters, like especially Next Generation, was all that kind of very neutral, calming characters. So that sometimes when you get someone that was just like absolutely freaking nuts, that was quite funny to watch and stuff. Like to have them kind of play off these kind of together officers and crew that wouldn't bat an eyelid. Like someone's just nuts. That's always quite good to see. It's just like, none of you knew who transported him. It's like, this isn't the most exciting mystery in the world. Like,
right.
Ooh. Oh, Troy's happy, satisfaction.
I mean, it's just... The only thing that's bizarre about this is how long it takes them to piece all this information together when, I don't know, it seems rather obvious what's going on to me.
I like that. He's such a dullard, isn't he? The shade of it all.
Well, that's later Q kind of peeking through here. Like, that's him kind of being funny this episode, but...
But no, I have to say, it's just so charming in its own way. And I always love that about like early TNG. Everyone's always dramatically getting out of their chairs. Like the con moves forward and someone gets up, and I'm surprised Picard just doesn't go, just sit down.
We're all standing here posing.
Exactly, posing for the hero shot. It's just like it does tie into that kind of the Gene Roddenberry style where everyone's just a bit rigid and kind of. It's you see it a bit later where they do become human in kind of how they pose and relax and stuff like that. Like it is purposefully directed to be this way. It's not like they're bad actors. They're just being given some kind of
weird stage
heady
direction.
ideas. Yeah. Humanity is no longer a savage race. I mean, that kind of sums up the Gene Roddenberry Vision there, doesn't it?
It does, but like the thing that I don't like about the Gene Roddenberry vision, and it's kind of here in this episode, it's very present throughout the early seasons of TNG, is that humanity's so much better than those savage people that lived in the 20th century that just happened to be watching your show.
Yeah, exactly. It is, and it sometimes, and it's always that said about Next Generation that
there's a way to do morality tales well without feeling like you're lectured at, and I feel like they got that later.
Yeah, and I think it works really quite well because like the Next Generation and Voyager kind of that similar kind of approach about how they have the Gene Roddenberry vision, but I think that the original kind of storytelling of Next Generation and the characters always made it really, really interesting. Whereas with Voyager, that you'd have these morality tales, but they would be kind of trapped in unoriginal stories, and sometimes like some of the characters would work incredibly well in Voyager, some of them wouldn't. But in Next Generation, everyone, once they kind of get into the rhythm, just clicks as a character. From season 3 onwards, it's hard not to hate or dislike or not want to spend time with all of the characters.
Right. Now, this is the scene I was talking about between Picard and Crusher that I really like.
Yeah. Do you consider me unqualified? Like that's a brilliant line. Like it can be pulled from the pages these days of things that women talk about when they have issues with their bosses, Trump and Clinton, for example, as well. This
is a woman who's standing her ground with a man who's very imposing and is basically almost suggesting that maybe she'd transfer off.
Yeah. This is another thing where like we see like the room in what's it called, sick bay, where it's got the star field behind her office that vanishes after.
I wish they kept that. That's a nice image. I never noticed that until now.
Yeah, I'd never noticed it either. I think that's Picard's buzz phrase. I think, welcome aboard. It's like him giving it gift baskets. You can just imagine him running around, like, oh, another dramatic zoom, just running around the ship, just like making sure to give someone else a handshake. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
Now, we just got over saying I do really like that scene that they just had, but it's a little bizarre that it's placed there, only because we have this crisis going on with the alien ship and the planet. Is this really the time to go down and have a heart to heart with the doctor? It
always feels kind of like it's come out of, it's been kind of edited in the wrong place. There's that Riker pose on the what's it called, the transporter. Like he's just the old man action hero.
Well, I imagine with the transporter effect, like in these early days, you have to stand very, very still because otherwise it's not going to work. Exactly.
You don't want someone to just jump out of somewhere and give you a big boo before you go into the transporter.
I just love that Marina now has to do the anger thing.
Yeah. And it is like a fascinating idea for a ship. Like there's no power, there's nothing. Like it is quite an interesting.
Well, it's not even really a ship. It's a creature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just like that kind of that mystery element. Like, oh, how does a ship run? But no, I like the Troy stuff is just so kind of tedious by this point.
It's getting to be, like I said, if this had been the character throughout 7 seasons, she wouldn't have worked.
I think it's the fact that she gets out of the scant and then into her next uniform in the next episode that secretly was the scant that was like amplifying all of these like annoying emotions and bad acting.
I will say though, I mean, I do like it when, because they put her in these she gets out of the scant and puts on that uniform for like the next 5 seasons, and she's never in uniform. I really like it when they make her go back to the uniform. Oh, yeah. I think she looks great in that the full uniform.
I think she looked really sexy in it as well. Like I always remember just when she got into it, I was like, yes, she looks so great in it. Just like Jellicoe, get into uniform. Okay. It was cool. I never kind of gelled with these uniforms, like in the beginning without the collar and the little red stripe. They really did look like pajamas.
Well, it looks incredibly uncomfortable too, and for apparently for the men they were, because apparently like the boots kind of have stirrups on them that connect to the fabric, so they're constantly being pulled forward with their backs. Yeah. So that's why you see Picard and Riker standing up so straight, is because they're fighting the impulse to be pulled forward.
Yeah, they're doing the Riker maneuver. Yeah, I always loved it. Just like when the collars came in, I always thought, damn, I love that uniform. And in a way, it's probably one of my favourite uniforms still. I always wanted one as a kid. remember the day I got to try one on for the first time. I was like, oh, I feel like I'm in Starfleet.
Yeah, I still do think though that my favorite uniforms in this era are the post First Contact ones, the gray with with the collar.
They're so good. Yeah, I think they work really, really well as well. Like the post First Contact, the season 3 one of this, and I love the original series movie ones. And there's our Michael Ball and his big grey ball just writhing around. It's not Reagan or Bush or the Berlin Wall falling. This is your kind of image of the Berlin Wall's the night a bit later. But this is your 80s image. Michael Ball writhing around in a purple sphere of on a sci-fi movie. Captain. So dramatic, just the lights are coming on. You can imagine like at Christmas when he's switching the lights on in the Enterprise.
I always do like it when Q shows up in one of the uniforms.
Yeah. He's like an Oscar host with the amount of costume changes and hair costume changes he has in this movie. Next thing up after he's tested humanity is off to like Hollywood Boulevard to present the best award for editing, which will be the Nerd Party, of course. Just everyone's just getting up dramatically. Everyone's moving away from their stations and just dramatically posing. Everyone.
Yeah.
And then, as I say, compared to like episodes time, and then for kind of the rest of the run, people are just stuck on their computer screens. And it's again like you see a lot more diversity there. We've got like our kind of maybe our 6th or 7th black character that we see on the Enterprise crew, and as I say, it's just a bit odd that kind of diversity seemed to kind of fall by the wayside as the series got on in terms of extras. It just wasn't as noticeable. Yeah, like it's just like this whole mystery. Like I don't care. Like I don't care.
But who? I'm just saying. Like by this point, who hasn't figured it out? So you're just you're waiting for them to deliver all the dialogue that pieces it all together, and
yeah, it's just like you seem to be like they're trying to make it so dramatic with the Q element, and it's like it's okay. It's like they're gonna solve it. It's kind of like a kind of average mission of the week as opposed to any real exciting test.
No, but like by this point, you're just like, oh, wrap it up already.
Yeah, just get on with it. It's like watching The Simpsons, where it's like, when are they going to get to the fireworks factory? But I think it is a good pilot to start off like the next generation, like of the time. Yeah, like you get introduced, like it introduces all the characters introduces the characters. You get a good feel for some of the characters and the relationships, and even if like you were basing this on just the pilot, thinking where is it going to go, who's going to be important characters, those things all dramatically change. But as a pilot, it's for of the time, it's pretty good. It's easy to lecture.
I don't hate it like most people do. I do find, like I said, I think the pacing problems are obvious. I think that it is obvious that it's two stories that were never meant to be mashed together. But I've seen worse pilots.
Yeah, and I think it's easy because the highs of TNG are so high.
Yeah. To
look back on something like this and go, this is a load of garbage. But to then kind of go back and think, right, what was it like 29 years ago this week? What was it like as a show? And you like, there's enough that you know what
think... I'll say this is a better 2-hour movie than Star Trek V 2 years later.
Oh yeah. John Mills will be after you. Like in 87, I would watch this and think, oh man, look at these special effects. Like, look at this saucer separation. Look at these characters. And, Riker seems awesome. Like, there'd be a lot that would get me to tune in again next week. You know, looking back, I would think, oh yeah, like, having access to all the episodes, I wouldn't kind of watch this one perhaps again. But, like, it's an interesting start. There's a lot there to go from. And it's bold, as I say. Some of the ideas that they play with, the Q stuff, the court stuff, it's really interesting.
That's my favorite part of this wrap-up is where Q says, oh, the answer was so obvious, I should have been more tough on you. Generosity has always been my weakness.
You already see that mellowing of the Q character. Like, he's gone from being this, like,
the thing that I like about Q is that you can't really tell in this episode, but the way they kind of retcon it is that Q was always kind of on humanity's side, and he was just trying to push them in the right direction.
Uh-huh.
Even though he's such a villain here, I mean, it's later revealed that he's probably humanity's greatest advocate.
Yeah, And even when things like we get Q-Who, where he goes on and kind of like actions of his does kill like 18 members of the Enterprise crew, like there was an important point to be had from that.
Yeah, they were getting too complacent.
Yeah. And that's something that you can kind of see from like Starfleet at this point. It's all very complacent. There's not the war. The biggest threat the Federation has really got just now is the Ferengi. The Romulans are doing their own thing. The Borg are a million miles away. The peace with the Klingons. When the Ferengi is your only real threat or issue,
they're doing pretty well.
Soft.
Yeah.
This really is like, peace in our time.
And that's kind of why I end up liking later TNG and then later DS9, because I feel like we take that utopia and really deconstruct it and show that it's not as great as everyone makes it out to be. It's great because people ignore the problems that are really going on, which is so like life.
Yeah. Whereas like Voyager kind of fails in that, where it kind of was going to be all about that utopia clashing with, say, like the terrorists of the Maquis, but like it forgives it all kind of so quickly that it just becomes like what TNG original series, like TNG like early series was, where it's all like one big happy family, as opposed to having that tensions, having that issues, conflicts, whether it was internal or external. And yeah, like that's where like TNG goes from strength to strength, where Voyager stays really in that TNG light bubble.
Right. Okay, here comes my favorite part of the episode, and the line that is so eminently quotable. It's spoken by Marina. God love you.
I know. I wonder if she'll quote it next weekend.
She does. Like... She mocks it all the time.
Oh, brilliant. I'm looking forward to it. And there we go. Alien hand sex. And I like that's another advert for like the HD prints and stuff. Like, these aliens have never looked as beautiful as they did. Like, it blew my mind when I watched this.
A feeling of great joy and gratitude.
Oh, it's wonderful. Hoi.
Great joy and gratitude.
No wonder she was like off the ship so many times in season 1. Picard was getting tired of her shtick. Like, oh god, if I have to hear one more thing about like Riker being the character, he's just this horn dog, and just like Troy's like, I'm getting great sense of sexual anxiety and frustration. Thank God the encounter at Farpoint's over and they can just get on with their missions. I always love how like the next episode after this one, like it's kind of got that Into Darkness flaw. Like, you've got this whole universe to play with, you can do anything you want, and then they kind of go
but
like
you know
mirror
what?
it to you.
I'm gonna say that Naked Now is such a guilty pleasure. Like,
oh yeah, I
love
totally
that
agree.
Episode.
I totally agree. I think it's such a guilty pleasure, but it's the fact that they do it as the second episode is so silly.
It's
but
silly.
Like, I can watch that episode. It's so much fun.
I watched the hell out of
ridiculous.
that episode.
Yeah, we should have done a commentary on that one. It's total nonsense, but I really like it. But I just think it's funny that, oh my god, right, we're on to our second episode. What are we gonna do?
A remake.
Make it time again? Okay, it's so silly.
But man, is that episode fun.
Yeah, it is so ridiculous.
Look at this real bizarre. The only time you see Denise Crosby in the scant.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love it if they were all wearing the scant. And I think it's like I think this has got a really cool ending, but it's got a good
last line. Let's see what's out there.
And it does sum up some of the things that you always get with the last scene of like TNG is like they're always just warping off to another starbase, and like when you cut to the next episode, they're never at that starbase. They're just kind of pottering around.
Right.
And the bridge is so empty. The Galaxy class flagship that's
This is something that I remember, and it's so bizarre about this first episode is that the credits are scrolling.
Yeah. And that beauty shot of it warping off, I love it. ILM did some great jobs with it.
So that's Encounter at Farpoint, and that's what premiered 29 years ago, a couple days back. And you know what? I understand that the episode has its flaws. We talked about them as we were watching them. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I think it's the nostalgia for me, considering that this was my first Trek post-Generations. The fact that there are things here to like, and the fact that, there's something kind of charming about seeing where they all started off, the beginning of everybody's arc. And just knowing what came later makes this episode, I don't want to say it makes it better, but it makes it like more enjoyable in retrospect.
It's historically important as well. Like, you know, every story has a beginning, and thank God this one didn't. It has Michael Ball instead of like Jar Jar Binks. Like, that's a good point to start off from, and I just think it's enjoyable in terms of a historical importance.
So, before we like give our like big wrap up discussion on it, Lee, why don't we do this? Why don't we say, like, in retrospect, having just watched the episode again, what would you give Encounter at Farpoint out of 10, 29 years past its premiere?
Probably like, I wouldn't be surprised if I give it like a 4 or a 5, something like that. That you can imagine having, like, yeah, you've got the movies, but like you've had decades since Star Trek's been on the TV
so you're
series.
gonna give it a 4 or 5 out of 10, or is that out of?
I would give it like an 8 out of 10, a 10 out of 10, something like that. In terms of, if I was at the time when I was the Star Trek fan that I was, my mind would be blowing. Like, we've got new Star Trek, like new adventures, new crew, like we grew up in a period where there was so much Star Trek. There was more Star Trek than you could shake a fist at, and you know, that's amazing. And I think with this, that I would be so happy I would have been quite content with whatever we got served up. That yeah, like in retrospect, I would have changed it. I would have come at maybe down to like a kind of a 5 out of 10, a 4 out of 10, something along those lines. But I think of the day of the pilot, if it came out 29 years ago, if I was an intelligent enough baby to watch it, I think I would have given it 10.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, like, even acknowledging its problems and the flaws inherent in the kind of episode that it is, I still can't bring myself to completely disregard and hate this episode. I will make fun of it because it's so it's so easy to make fun of. But do I really, honestly, truly hate it? No. And I think it's not great, but it's solid, and I could see a foundation that could be built off of it, which obviously they did. So with all that being said, I still think there's no reason why even today I can't give it, especially compared to some of the other early first season episodes, there's no reason why I can't give this a solid 6 or maybe even a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, there's better episodes, but this one, in terms of historical one, is you know, takes some beating. This was huge at the time.
I mean, compared to something like Last Outpost or Justice, this is a masterpiece.
Yeah. This is true.
But this was so much fun to kind of step back into watching the first episode of Next Generation almost 3 decades after it premiered. And thanks so much, Lee, for joining me, and thank you to the listeners for joining us. And hopefully you found something. Maybe you didn't like this episode, but maybe you found something to enjoy after listening to us. I don't know. I like to think we have that power.
Let's see if we can turn Tristan Riddell from a snooze to a guys. I really enjoyed this episode.
You know, I'm counting that we can maybe turn some listeners. Tristan Riddell is just like there's no turning that man.
We love you, Tristan, but he's a lost cause sometimes.
He's a lost cause sometimes. But you know what? We love him anyway, and he's one of the many fun people that you can find on this great network of ours. Isn't that right, Lee?
Absolutely. If you're wanting to talk Star Wars instead of Star Trek, we've got the Jedi Masters. If you're wanting to talk about relationships, and like it's mind-blowing. I was saying it to Tristan the other day, that like Nerd Nuptial, that it's like a podcast that went from like what life is like being married geeks to expecting a child as geeks to going to be like parents as a geek. It's like that's such a unique podcast, and we're so lucky to have them on the network. And then obviously the Senate floor, where we all seem to take turns around appearing on it and everything like that, and we have such great times with that as well. So yeah, like find us on Facebook at the Nerd Party, find us on Twitter at Join Nerd Party. Like, yeah, get in touch with us. Let us know if you like the scants or not. And yeah, I think we'll put that up as a poll when we release this episode on the Wednesday. What do you think of the scants? That's something for folk to consider.
That would be awesome. And you can find us personally on Twitter as well. I am at mhansen, HANSEN0207. Where are you, Lee?
Yeah, you can find me at Lee_Nostromo on Twitter. And yeah, let us know what you think of Encounter at Farpoint. Were we too kind on it? Have you watched it back and think it's still a load of nonsense? Let us know. We love to hear from you.
And until then, thank you so much for joining us at this special look back at Encounter at Farpoint. And until next time, let's see what's out there.
Engage.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.
Welcome to Nerd Party.